Breaking news as Boeing now confirms layoffs as a result of the 33,000 employees walking off the job. So we're going to dig deeply into that story. And in addition to what's going on with Boeing, as Mitch and I were making this video, Cisco also came out announcing additional layoffs as well. Mitch, happy Wednesday, my friend. How are you?
Good. We're continuing to do research, and everybody that's sending in information, especially the evidence, that's very much welcome because it does show what's happening across the United States. And at a minimum, we will use these documents as exhibits on our lawsuits to show the judges that these issues affect real people. And it's the same thing for those people who are signing the petitions. Thank you very much for signing the petitions because it really will come in handy when we're in front of a judge.
I'm so proud of that. And to the viewers, thank you for signing the petition. If you guys are just joining our channel, Mitch has been spearheading the fraud that's going on in the Central Appraisal District level, which impacts all of us, whether or not we own a house or not. And he is leading the way to stop that. In other words, go to the video's description. It is full of valuable links. Follow those links, empower yourself. But let's start by taking a look at what's going on with Boeing. So this came out from the Seattle Times stating Boeing layoffs begin with more ahead to cut costs during strike. So I'm already thinking like, dang, this strike is leading to other people getting completely fired. So the people that do remain there, at least they will get a pay raise, but the people that get fired, they don't get no pay raise. Here's what this says. Boeing on Monday announced internally a series of sweeping cost-cutting moves in response to a strike and said it may temporarily lay off some employees, including managers and executives. That may be a good idea. According to 3 sources, Boeing laid off dozens of engineer contractors, mostly experienced retirees who had returned to help Boeing fix the problems with airplanes under development. So those people probably are super important to the safety of the public. The cost-cutting measures also included significant holds on taking aircraft parts from suppliers in action that will ripple through the smaller aerospace firms around the region. And that's why layoffs are so bad. This is an indicator that does spread into other industries that lean on Boeing to survive. In a message to employees, Chief Financial Officer Brian West said that Boeing is considering the difficult step of temporary furloughs for more employees, managers, and executives in the coming weeks. They've already started this, you guys. They've already started this. Boeing is also planning to make significant reductions in supplier expenditures and will stop issuing the majority of supplier purchase orders on the 737, 767, and the 777 programs, West said. In addition to these layoffs, a few other things that Boeing intends to do to not go bankrupt and bankrupt its suppliers is the other cost-cutting steps Boeing announced include a hiring freeze, a hold on manager and executive pay increases from promotions, stopping all employee travel that is not critical. Wait, what? Wait, employees can travel if it's not critical? Like how's that possible? I can't even leave my office, Mitch, let alone travel. Oh my gosh. No first or business class air travel for employees. First class? Business class, suspending all outside consulting work, no catered meals and food services at Boeing facilities except for customers, suspending charitable donations, that sucks, pausing all advertising and marketing expenditures, that sounds pretty huge, suspending all non-essential spending on new equipment and facilities. Mitch, how in trouble is Boeing in?
On one hand, not a lot. Because the truth is it's a national asset and the U.S. government will rescue it no matter what. On the other hand, the current issue is, yeah, they're in trouble, but it's not just them. Their problems are, again, from the C-suite, right, from the corporate suite. So the ramifications of the supply chains, there's the definition of a snowball because all those people that work for those suppliers have employees. Those employees get laid off as a ramification of the Boeing employees going on strike. Whether it's justified or not isn't the point. The point is it's in a geographic vicinity. Those people also have real estate tax problems, and you start compounding these problems, and there's your snowball.
Do you think that the strikes will lead to additional mass layoffs? Obviously, Boeing has to do something, right? They are losing billions of dollars. So do you think that the longer that they strike, the higher probability mass layoffs occur at Boeing?
The higher the probability of mass layoffs, not only at Boeing, but as well as all the supply chains. So Boeing doesn't make harnesses by way of example, right? They go out, they have a supplier, that guy creates the harnesses. So it's just one element of millions of elements that go into these planes. So can you imagine losing people who have the technological know-how on how to create these parts, but they get laid off? Now, if Boeing is out for, say, 6 months, well, that person that had that technology, that know-how, he gets laid off for 6 months. What if that guy's close to retirement age, just says, yeah, screw it, I don't want to go back. I'll just take my pension, because they'll offer him a pension on the way out the door. What they don't understand is you're losing the talent. And when you lose the talent, you cause more problems. The snowball gets bigger.
Yeah, and it's not just with Boeing. So there's layoffs happening in AI, the auto industry, government jobs, teacher jobs. Some police forces are getting fired now as a result of the fraud and overvaluation. So it's happening. The layoffs are happening. It's taken some time because of the massive amount of inflation, PPP and EIDL, those things really happen. But let's see what's happening now at Cisco. And I thought the job layoffs were over, but that's not true, you guys. Cisco is announcing additional layoffs. Mitch, this came out when I was preparing for Boeing. Look at the date here, September 17th. Literally, I was like, oh, I got to add this to the video because holy smokes, another round of layoff. Cisco's second layoff of 2024 affects thousands of employees. There's a lot of carnage. U.S. tech giant Cisco has let go of thousands of employees following its second layoff of 2024. The technology and networking company announced in August that it would reduce its headcount by 7%, or around 5,600 employees, following an earlier layoff in February in which the company let go of about 4,000 employees. This company is absolutely getting gutted right now. A TechCrunch previously reported Cisco employees said that the company refused to say who were affected by the layoffs until yesterday, September 16th. That's insane. There's a lot happening, and a lot happening very, very quickly. So these people were blindsided, Mitch, because they weren't preparing. If you prepare, you can handle things like this a little bit better. This goes on. Cisco did not give a reason for the month-long delay in notifying affected staff. Again, blindsided these people, absolutely blindsided. One employee told TechCrunch at the time that Cisco's workplace has become the most toxic environment they have ever worked in. The sentiment at these companies is crazy. Cisco said in its August statement that the second layoff of the year would allow the company to invest in key growth opportunities. And those key growth opportunities are not in their employees, by the way, just to be clear, and drive more efficiencies. On the same day, Cisco published its most recent full year earning report, in which the company said 2024 was its second strongest year on record, citing close to a $54 billion annual revenue. So let me read this one more time, okay? They're shedding, they're peeling off employee after employee after employee, and yet this is the second strongest year on record. Mitch, can you explain to me, maybe I'm not understanding here, but how could it be a company's strongest year, their second strongest year in the history of their being a company, and yet they're laying off 5, 10, 15% of their entire workforce? What's going on at Cisco?
This is a situation where the C-suite, the board, should not have been hiring those employees to begin with, because they didn't even understand what the revenue per employee actually was. So just for the sake of conversation, let's say that's 9,000 employees in both layoffs. That 9,000 employees represents $1 billion worth of savings to Cisco. Now, Cisco's got a PE, price to earnings ratio. If you take that $1 billion in savings, and for the sake of conversation, let's just say that it's a 10 PE, which it's not, it's much greater, but let's just say it's a 10. So that gives you 10 billion worth of imputed price increase to the net bottom line of Cisco. 1 billion in savings turns into 10 billion in shareholder value instantly. So you see, for them, it's not a big deal to jettison that amount of employees, because they're saying, listen, we made 54 billion. Now, oh, by the way, Here's a savings of 1 billion. Well, that's the equivalent of 10 billion. So 54 plus 10, you're now up at 64 billion, i.e. financial engineering to the nth degree. But in reality, that's what's happening.
Yeah, but layoffs don't.
That memo was designed as again, pushing forward a statement to Wall Street. It's got nothing to do with the employees.
Because layoffs don't make a company strong. That doesn't, when companies making layoffs, that means that they're weak and they overhired and they're not making enough money to sustain those employees.
And they made a mistake, right? We're right back to this issue of revenue per employee, right from the word go. Were those employees ever necessary? And the problem is, if they don't understand that, they end up jacking with people's lives. Right. Well, I got a short-term job. I'm here for 2 years. I'm out. I don't know where it is. I don't know what Cisco's going to do. I don't know what the position of my job is. These are all problems. These are humans doing this to humans. So who's really responsible? The truth of the matter is the board. Yeah, they should have known what was happening, and they didn't. They don't bother to look at their own balance sheets.
Mitch, is it fair to say that to these top companies, at least this appears this way to me, that the shareholders are much more important than the ground level employees?
No, because the ground level employees, let's say that, again, we're back to this issue of culture and technology and know-how, right? So the people that have the know-how have to be protected. Those are the employees, because that is the guts of the company. They've got to be protected. The problem is you have dilution of the protection when you hire excess employees that may and or may not have a reason to be in that facility. So these are problems with the boards themselves and the operations, i.e. the CEO. They all have a job. They all get paid an awful lot of money. But if they don't have the ability to analyze what's really going on under the hood of that company, then they probably shouldn't be in that job. And that's what's happening. You're seeing the wheels come off in all these companies, but the nexus between them is that they don't understand a simple fact. What is the revenue per employee? Period. Figure it out, understand it, and then deal with it.
Yep. I mean, and the layoffs are probably only going to continue. Do you remember, Mitch, when right around lockups, I think maybe 2020, we saw this most, maybe 2021, where you could get a job at a gas station? Do you remember going to a gas station and it said $1,000 sign-on bonus? And do you remember that?
No.
So what I'm worried about, especially if there's these young kids don't realize that that's never, as far as I can remember, that's never happened in my entire life. Do you ever recall a situation to where gas stations were offering $1,000 sign-on bonus across the nation?
No, but that shows you at that time a true employee shortage. You talk about young people. Well, they don't have the knowledge, right? You need the older people to be able to teach the younger people. And when I'm quite certain that that's not even being taken into consideration on these mass firings, they're just shooting cannons to eliminate a major chunk of money in order to maintain that price to earnings ratio. But that signifies to me more problems in the future, not less problems. I would much rather be dealing with a staff that's 50, 60 years old than I would with a 20-year-old. That 20-year-old needs to be taught. Who's going to do it? You think these people sitting up in the C-suite are going to get off their ass and go down on the floor? No. And there's the problem.
And Mitch, all of this quantitative tightening and government spending, I mean, it's from the top down. I mean, it's absolutely wrecking small businesses, medium-sized businesses, even Fortune 500 companies. I mean, look at what's happening with McDonald's in California. I think the minimum wage is somewhere in the $20 now in McDonald's in California. So now that's going to push McDonald's to say, wait a minute, if we hire someone full-time, pay them over $20 an hour, we got to give them medical, we got to give them all this stuff. So why don't we just switch to automation? Do you think that as a result of all of this, inflation, quantitative tightening, regulations, do you think that more and more companies are going to move away from human employees and switch to AI? I know that there's mixed feelings about AI, but do you think that that's possible? Again, they're pushing these companies into bankruptcy almost.
You've already lost well over 4,000 restaurants in the last 12 months in California. The technology doesn't exist. People say, well, we're going to automate dishwashers in restaurants. The average in downtown Chicago, a dishwasher right now is getting $25 an hour. Okay. You can't automate it. Somebody's got to be able to feed the dishes into the machine. You can try and automate it and think you can, but how much money are you going to pay in order to get that automation? So there's problems everywhere, but those problems will continue to ramp up because of the fraud that's been committed on the real estate taxpayers. I mean, this is all about money. One thing. The other thing is this is about human/social financial engineering, because at the tail end of the day, everybody needs a reason to get up in the morning. If you take that reason away from people and say, well, we're the government, we're going to give you the money and we're going to do it on the backs of the real estate taxpayers, like I said, you better be damn careful, because you're going to get what's coming your way. It's complete nonsense. Everybody, regardless of who they are, needs a reason to get up in the morning. You cannot say, we're the government, we're going to pay you. Because the second you do that, you're causing social interference. You're taking that reason away for people to get up in the morning. And that will end very badly.
Well put. I mean, we're in a debt prison. We're literally in a debt prison, and it's not, some of it is our debt. Well, if you have debt, but a lot of it's not even our debt. It's the government, states, counties' debt. And so, Mitch, you've said, and I want to kind of switch to the unemployment number, and then we'll go under, and then we'll go into some user comments and user emails. But Fred came out, the census came out with the updated unemployment rate. It went down, down to 4.2%. You've made comments on a couple of videos that we've made stating that you believe that essentially unemployment is double that, maybe 8 to 10%, I believe you said. Can you explain to the viewers why you think that the true unemployment rate is double than what's being reported?
I think I said 10.8%, and it's over 10.8%. I was being rather conservative. But it's real simple. Like, if you take their numbers, which are complete nonsense, but let's go ahead and run with it. So you've got 4.6%, 4.2%, doesn't matter. Now, take 20 million illegal immigrants. They don't have a job. Put that number in there. Let's put back the amount of people that have 2 jobs that aren't even counted in the government statistics. When you start adding all this up, you're well north of 10.8% unemployment. What you're being fed in the mainstream media is simply complete nonsense. You can get to the 10.8 in one step at 20 million. It's a fact. Over and above that, now let's talk about the cost to carry of that 20 million, averaging somewhere around $64,000 a year. So every illegal that walks across that border is costing the U.S. taxpayer $64 million. Why? What are these people coming over for? Who allowed this to happen? Why did they allow this to happen? Every taxpayer is paying roughly $64,000 for the privilege of having those illegal immigrants walk across the border. That's why these numbers are complete nonsense. What you're being fed is a straight up lie. It just simply isn't true.
Well, Mitch, I'm still getting comments, and it's fair, right? That I'm not knocking these people, but I still get comments that, people can't see the government lying to them. I mean, they refuse to believe that the government could possibly lie to them. So can you explain, why would they hide that, right? You're saying, again, and it makes perfect sense, you're using math, and I appreciate it. It's more like over 10%. They're saying 4.2. Why are they lying to us? Why hide that information from us?
The reality is that the United States has exported its garbage around the world, and its garbage is financial engineering. So how do they do it? Well, they simply do what the CADs are doing with the taxing entities, where the CADs say, well, the value is X. We'll take that X, we'll raise money, tax receipts, we'll hand it back to our bosses, the taxing entities, i.e. the school districts. The school districts go and they lever it up, say 20 to 1. Okay, so 1 million turns into 20 million in debt. Now, on the federal level, the federal government has done the exact same thing, but they've been doing it in reality since we went off the gold standard. And that's when you started to see, when Nixon was there, I guess in 1974, it was reasonably flat for a handful of years. And then all of a sudden, like 5-6 years later, the debt level started to rocket. So there was no control. And then every couple of years, they said, well, we have to increase our budget. So I think the next one is coming up, I believe within the next 30 or 60 days, where they're going to have to go and say, we got to raise the debt ceiling again. This is complete kabuki theater. They're going to keep doing this, and all those bonds turn into garbage. And I keep trying to hammer on people. This stuff can't be paid back. There's no math on this planet that can show you how to pay it back, because you've gotten to the point under the rule of 72 where the velocity of the ramp up simply cannot be returned. There's no way to pay it off. It's too great. You're doubling, which means you're compounding that debt. Never mind the interest, right? It's cumulative. You want to add in the interest? It's cumulative compounding of the debt. And that's why it's going parabolic. And when things go parabolic, from technical standpoint, they drop 0.618%. That's what's going to happen. There's a high probability that that's going to be the target. It can't be paid back. I defy anybody to show me how this is going to get paid back, because that's not the math.
Mitch, I sometimes I sit back and I ask myself, what happened other than the greed, corruption, fraud, and apathy from consumers, right? Like, okay, those are some pretty major things, but taking those out of the equation, what happened exactly? And I think back to what you're saying, that, the financial engineering, illusion of legitimacy, these people are violating their own laws. So to me, the bigger issue here may not actually be the law. The bigger issue here may actually be enforcement, because if no one is enforcing the laws, then the laws don't even matter to begin with. And that's why, again, there's so many people saying that the law is being politicized. But the thing is, let me show the viewers this. It's no question. I mean, here's something that you put together. These are a partial list of violations that the central appraisal districts are doing just in Texas. So to me, Mitch, and by the way, you guys, to the viewers, this is going to be in a link in our description. You go to the video, you hit data links. This is going to be there. If you guys want detailed information on what we're saying, we're not just saying what we're saying. I mean, there's been an overwhelming amount of research and due diligence done to get you guys this information. They are violating their own laws. Look at, Mitch made 10 pages of law violations. So Mitch, I don't know that I would agree that we need new laws or new regulation. I would say that what needs to happen is people need to step up, stop stealing money, stop being corrupt, and start enforcing the existing laws. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're making my case, right? So we're in front of the court right now that literally is a statement, members of the court. Either the law exists or it doesn't. We know that the law exists, but if people don't want to adhere to it, then the law doesn't exist, because the law was created to protect the citizens. If the citizens have no protection under the Fifth and 14th Amendment, under due process of the U.S. Constitution, then a contract designed to break the law isn't a contract in the eyes of the law. Therefore, the law doesn't exist. Members of the court, make up your mind. If the law exists, then these people have to be prosecuted. If the law doesn't exist, then why exactly are we as real estate taxpayers funding this crap? And my overall point is not to be to look at it this way, but my overall point is, well, taxes have to be paid. They should be paid, right? Because there are legitimate expenses. But the parabolic nature of what has gone on here and the method of the theft for purposes of promoting a class of people that have jobs that shouldn't have jobs, right? And that refuse to recognize what the values are of what they have bought is a huge problem. That parabolic includes an awful lot of fat in the system that shouldn't be there. When you tell the truth and you have smoothing, yeah, you can have a rise because things happen, but it's quantifiable. You can't quantify, I can't quantify all the bonds that have occurred in Denton County. We've tried, can't find it. They're hiding it, because we can use that information and literally say, how much are the bonds per student? And if it turns out that it's $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 per student, including the off-balance sheet values, well, there's your truth, not $20,000 per student per year to educate. So in my hands, in my accountant's hands, in my attorney's hands, those numbers mean something. Well, either the law exists or it doesn't. And we're at that point. And what I want to make another point on is the ramifications of lying is the parabolic. Okay. The ramifications of lying is the fact that your equity is being stripped out of your assets. Those are two ramifications going in the exact opposite direction. If you don't return the balance sheet to mom and pop, the economic fallout will be worse than Venezuela. Either we get in front of this as a nation, or what I don't want to have happen is that the market gets in front of us. Because if the market gets in front of us, you will have bank runs going on all over the place. Therein lies the problem. This clock is ticking, and it's a big problem.
You know, Mitch, it sounds like we need to prosecute the prosecutors from the sounds of it. But I understand, I understand people. It's taken me some time to fully, I don't even know if it's fully comprehend, but just to level up my comprehension of the way that things work. And so this process is confusing. What we're saying is confusing. There's multiple states, there's multiple laws. And so the law is confusing. And so what I want to do is I want to help try to clean that up. So I'm going to pull up an email from a viewer that actually had a question about mass appraisal. And I want to clean this up, Mitch, because people are not paying attention to the things that really matter, which is you're being ripped off and fraud is going on. People they jump ahead like, oh, well, then where are they going to get their money? Well, I don't know, maybe from the lack of fraud. Maybe if they stop the fraud and corruption, they'll get the money from there. That's just top of my head anyway. So we can go into that on a different video. This is from a person named Beth right here. Beth, thank you for reaching out to us. Now, Beth had some questions. She's basically saying she's appreciating us. She's thanking us, but she's also saying a few commenters questioned Mitch on his position that USPAP is legally required and suggested that tax authorities are permitted to do mass appraisals, which is still USPAP, but I'll let you explain this. That's okay. And allowed to keep it in an opinion only, yet tax on it. And so what happens is there's disinformation and there's people that don't understand things. They just say things, and that untruths and that confusion spreads to other people. Again, even though we have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours and documents to prove what we're saying, it's still very confusing. So can you respond to that email? Can you explain how the CADs are using mass appraisals, and can you confront what she's saying, please?
Sure. On the website, and what Travis is about to post below this video will be a 10-page document. And that is a document of all the laws, well, not all, let's say 90% of the laws that are being broken. And you cannot have 10 pages of violations and broken laws, but for intent. And it literally goes through all of USPAP and says, here is what is being broken at different levels of USPAP. But in order to quantify this, just to make sure that everybody understands, USPAP requires standard deviation. There is no CAD that we've seen that's running standard deviation. Under mass appraisal standards, standard deviation is required. Under the Texas Property Tax Code, standard deviation is required. Under the Texas Constitution, uniform and equal is required, and you can get to uniform and equal through standard deviation. The math doesn't lie. The problem is that the people that are responsible aren't adhering, and they don't even probably understand what the requirements are inside of USPAP. USPAP is the key document, and it comes right back to what I said. Either the law exists, Your Honors, or it doesn't. These are requirements. Right? It's not at somebody's discretion not to use USPAP. It's not somebody's discretion. Well, today is Tuesday. I'm going to get up and I'm not going to pay attention to mass appraisal standards. No, you don't have that discretion. This is required in law. Therefore, members of the court, Your Honors, the reality is that every single appraisal law is being violated and it all stems from one simple thing. No central appraisal district that we have seen recently, based on all of our evidence, is doing an appraisal under any definition in law. It is simply politically motivated guesstimating. And one other thing, we also happen to have testimony from Mr. Spencer, the chief appraiser, Denton Central Appraisal District. We took 60,000 properties outside of the database, put them in Excel, manipulated them, and put them back. And the person that did that on behalf of Mr. Spencer, her name was Rebecca Townsend. This is on tape. We have the recording. It's on
Yeah.
our website. So if somebody says, well, USPAP, maybe they are adhering to it. No, you cannot have the document that we just showed in the last video, which I'm calling a straight up admission of guilt. You can't have that document if they were adhering to USPAP. They would be the exact opposite. So the truth of the matter is USPAP is being violated. Mass appraisal standards is being violated. The laws of your states are being violated. The math is the math. And that's why we created the website, mockingbirdproperties.com/DCAD, to give every single person, including the CADs. We're not hiding anything from anybody. I personally have notified the state comptroller. Here's the information. Attorney General, here's the information. It's on the website. We're hiding nothing. We're doing it on purpose. We even had somebody comment, say, well, aren't you telling the other side what you're doing? Yeah, exactly. We have nothing to hide. We're doing it on purpose. Somebody, anybody, please tell me I'm wrong. Show me that I'm wrong on the math. It would be great. I'd be the first person to apologize, but they can't and they won't, because the evidence that they would have to hand over would literally come down to the school districts that said, give me a list of the bonds over the last 10 years divided by the amount of students that you've got in that school district. And that will be the death nail.
To me, it's all the same thing. Okay. We already have the existing laws. If someone's going to violate those laws, enforce prosecution. If you're not enforcing prosecution, it will breed fraud. The fraud is going to breed economic turmoil and financial struggles and things like that. If you're not enforcing the laws, why make a law if you're just going to allow the victims to continue to get victimized? It just doesn't make sense. But
unless they created it by intent for the sole purpose of equity stripping.
Well, they've done a good job at that so far. And here's the thing, you guys, this is what Mitch and I are trying to say. We get it. It's confusing, and there are different levels of comprehension, different levels of goal, different levels of success, different levels of challenges. But what we're saying applies to all of those people. And what we're saying when we're saying, please, guys, don't have apathy, step up, help us fight. We're leading the way. Free courses, the petition, go to the description of this video. There's an overwhelming amount of value. Again, you guys, start with the petition, take 10 seconds, sign the petition, and help us. You literally don't have to do any effort. And if you really want to really change your life, take the courses, whether it's the Fight Property Tax Value course or the How to Purchase a House course. It's all free. Our gift to you. We want you guys to know there are good people out there that want to make change and are willing to take the steps necessary to make that change. But we're not too foolish, Mitch, to know that we can't do that without you guys. We can't. We're just literally just two people, and we're doing as much as we can. So having said that, thank you for all of your support, for everyone that signed the petition, for everyone that has taken that course to empower yourself. Thank you, because by doing that, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping me and you're helping my family. Now, other than that, Mitch, I definitely appreciate your time, brother. Anything you want to say before I get him out of here?
Yes. I'm obviously not on social media, never had been up until I met Travis. A couple of people made comments that, well, Vivek should see these videos. If you can take your choice of video, whatever you want, and send it to Musk, Vivek, and Rogan, and ask them, just watch the first 10 minutes of any video. They'll understand where this is headed. And then I would be happy to go onto those programs and lay this out. Obviously, through this series of videos that Travis has put together, it's necessary to have a series because you can't really get into the meat of this heavily in an hour. However, those people have huge platforms. The more people that know about this problem, then the more mom and pops that can get involved. And that is what is necessary in order to stop what I don't want to have happen, which is the market starting to take over, because the snowball would be too big once the market starts pushing. We have to do this slowly and systemically in order to bring it down to a size that it can be dealt with. And that means eliminating the property taxes in favor of a uniform state's sales tax. Those people that I just mentioned have that ability to get this out into the public realm on a mass scale.
Yeah. Yeah. And please take what he's saying seriously. And honestly, Mitch, on the record, I want to say personally, I'm absolutely honored absolutely honored and even blown away that someone like you exists. But I'm honored that you partnered up with our real estate mindset community. You've asked for nothing from me in return. You've asked for no finances. You're just doing this because the message, the movement. And that's why I was like, Mitch, I gotta help you. I gotta help. You've uncovered this whole thing. It fits perfectly what my mission is, which is to help change the world, to make it a better place, to warn people of the pitfalls. And Mitch, you've taken us to the next level. And I am honored, sir, to have you here to do multiple videos. I have learned I'm speechless, man. I mean, I've learned so much from you. You're like that breath of fresh air because you gave me the missing pieces of the puzzle. So if he also helped you guys, if he helped enlighten you, if you found any value, please help us to get the message. Mitch is able to go onto these platforms and to in a very professional way, articulate the real problems that are going on. I will do my best to support that message in every single way, Mitch, as well. But you are an absolute champion, sir, and I thank you. Now, other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, stop. Don't do it. Maybe you should pause a little bit and wait for the dust to settle. But if you are, nevertheless, guys, we hope you win.